So, you want to start watching One Piece, huh? I can't say I blame you. In just about any comment section around the world, there's bound to be a One Piece fan breathing down your neck telling you to watch it if you haven't already, and I'm certainly one of them. Over the years, I have successfully converted a number of my friends, who were once the typical "it's too long" type people, into some of the biggest fans I now know. I mean, who wouldn't love to watch 1,000 episodes of a stretchy pirate search for treasure? Doesn't that plot synopsis sound like a masterpiece already? As an anime watcher, whether you've just begun or have descended into the depths of weebdom for years now, for healthy skin and long life, which I'm sure you all need, you should just accept that One Piece is never an impossibility, but instead an inevitability. The boss battle that you dread to face, but once you finish, you realize that it was easily one of your favorites in the entire game. Though there are lows and highs on the journey, today I'm here to do a little bit of convincing and give you the many reasons to watch One Piece, the absolute behemoth of an anime. Or, if you've already fully committed and are ready to begin hoisting the sails, tell you my favorite parts of what will be the most memorable months of binge watching you will ever experience. Truly. I still reminisce of the 3 months in 2017 when I watched all of One Piece, up to around episode 770, the current one at the time, when I slept, ate, bled, cried, sweated, and shit One Piece. And I'm sure you'll do the same, and love it the whole way through. And here I'll take a quick side note, because although this video is entirely about watching One Piece, in no way do I mean to equate watching One Piece to reading the manga. Nor will I say if either is objectively better. I'll leave that up to the comments of an inevitable group of salty redditors or manga supremacists. Both are entirely different experiences, and people have different preferences for what they want. And as someone who watched One Piece for many a month and enjoyed hundreds of episodes, including filler, yes, you heard that right, I did watch the filler, and as someone who has now read for many years, I will say that you will likely enjoy both. And with the anime, it will be a great journey, I'm sure, as long as you're willing to bear through the occasional pitfall of any long-running shonen, and you're not an extremely uptight manga fan, that is. But that is where I will stop with the negatives, because this video is, of course, all about what you will love about One Piece. Spoiler-free, with the occasional vague reference to arcs and moments that you won't even understand if you haven't seen the series, so don't worry about it. Or if you have already seen it, instead of informing you of what you'll love about One Piece, I'll take you on a blast to the past and remind you of all the things that truly made it into the adventure of a lifetime. And the adventure of a lifetime can only take place in a masterfully crafted world that holds it, which through its many seas, land islands, sky islands, and underwater islands, One Piece does create with some of the best world building in anime. A world where anything feels possible, where the sense of adventure truly seeps out from every corner and crevice, and where this 98% of Anime Culture Corner viewers are actually subscribed. Please subscribe. One Piece begins as a very small story. We follow Luffy on his small wooden boat in the East Blue, one of the many small oceans of the One Piece world. He has no connections, no reputation to his name, and slowly but surely, we slowly garner more crewmates as we learn the real scope of the world. More so than any other long-running shonen series, One Piece is all about growth and moving on. Which makes sense, considering the story is about pirates setting sail and exploring the world in search of a great treasure. And because the story, in essence, follows our crew just island hopping and finding new opportunities, each island they stop on is memorable and distinguishable in its own way. In the 900-something, nearly 1,000 episode run of One Piece so far, no island has felt similar to the one before it. Drum Island and its snowy mountaintops, Dressrosa and its dense tropical forests and its Caribbean town, Alabasta's scorching deserts. The world of One Piece is incredibly diverse in climate and setting of every island Luffy and his crew steps foot on, but also, and more importantly, in the characters introduced in each. And the characters of One Piece are arguably the best part of the entire series. Granted, the same can be said for most shonen of this type. Naruto would be nothing without the Hidden Leaf Shinobi and the incredible villains like Pain and Tobi. Nor would Bleach be much without the devious Aizen and Ichigo. I mean Drippigo, my bad. But what distinguishes One Piece especially is not just the sheer size of the cast of characters, but how well fleshed out and interesting nearly all of them are. The main crew, of course, receive their own stories and character development. Almost all of them have tragic tales before joining the crew, often a story that has made them naturally opposed to joining a team, actually. Nami was raised as a lone wolf among a devious group of villains, trusting no one. The same can be said for Sanji, and Robin, and Frankie too. But somehow, this incredibly diverse and strange group of characters, who have grown up so tragically opposed to companionship, have been brought together against all odds by Luffy, the captain of this crew. Luffy's charisma and will to do anything and everything for his friends outclasses just about any other anime character you can compare him to. And in a world where the old generation pushes against him and fellow pirates looking for the One Piece clash with the crew, where you must survive against all the competition and all the odds, Luffy shines as a symbol of rebellion and independence and freedom on the open seas. Luffy's moments of defending and fighting for his crew are some of the most epic in all of anime. I'm sure if you looked up Luffy epic moment montage on YouTube, you find some amazing AMVs that would surely send chills down your spine. But the moments aren't just limited to Luffy either. Zoro's stand in Thriller Bark, Usopp's saving shot in Dressrosa, Robin's yell atop the tower of Enies lobby, and expanding even further beyond just our crew as well. Aokiji arriving to stop Doflamingo, Trafalgar splitting an entire island in half. If you haven't watched the show, you won't get what I'm saying. But if you do watch it, I'm sure you will instantly recognize all of these moments and remember just how awesome they were. The list goes on and on because One Piece gives every character their moment to shine and show off. Minor characters, who you never thought of even after they disappeared in one arc, will reappear in a moment's notice, in a great piece of poetic storytelling by Oda. And some of the initially lamest characters will grow into possibly one of your favorites. Yes, I am talking about Kobe in both of those scenarios. There are allies who side with Luffy after witnessing his charisma and want to do good for the world, and enemies who would do anything to see him dead, and those with a purpose entirely separate from his. And this ambiguity of goals of characters in One Piece, people who are trying to achieve completely different things on the vast ocean, is one of its best parts. I recommend watching this video in the top corner if you want a bit more depth into that topic. But, of course, what are good characters, great moments, without a great OST to accompany them? A must of any one of the big three anime is an iconic soundtrack, and I personally believe that One Piece, Naruto, and Bleach all have arguably equally unrivaled OSTs. This is one aspect at the very least that I must give to all of them. From sorrow and sadness in Naruto, to Aizen's beautiful orchestral and demonic theme in Bleach,
I can tell that you're being true to me. I can smell that you're acting so weird for me.
To the many in One Piece that I'm sure are playing right now in the background of this very video. And what One Piece excels in soundtrack-wise, as it does with both characters and the world itself, what I mentioned before, is truly the variety. After watching the entirety of One Piece, every fan surely has a gaping hole in their heart. But once you hear that music, whether it is emotional, or adventurous, or epic, you are always reminded of the good old days and adventures of Luffy and his crew. I haven't watched the anime in years, but every time I hear these songs, I am reminded of the past. The nostalgia I have for One Piece, or any one of the big three for that matter, is truly one of the best gifts that anime has ever given to me. There is always at least one iconic song for just about every mood you can have. Not to mention many of the openings are among anime's most iconic, of course. The very first opening of One Piece always makes me feel like a little kid again. And the Water 7 opening gives me warm fuzzy feelings in my chest that I can't really describe, nor do I really want to. However, it's very possible you might go through all of One Piece without listening to any one opening more than even a single time, and I wouldn't even blame you actually. Not because they're bad, in fact it's the opposite, most are amazing. But you might not watch any of them because of the curse any and all One Piece watchers experience. The curse of binge watching. Because among the many anime I have ever watched, One Piece is surely the most bingeable of them all. Everyone complains about how long One Piece is, but you come to realize that once you begin One Piece, it does not feel that long. Because you'll find yourself watching episode upon episode every single day, to the point where you see the sun set and rise twice over in what felt like the short time you've been watching Luffy just beat up another pirate. You'll blink your eyes and find that 40 episodes have passed. At some point in One Piece, around halfway through the show maybe, including opening, ending, and the recap of the arc thus far, episodes can be as short as 17 to 18 minutes, which is very dangerous. And by dangerous, I mean very tempting to finish each episode one after another because you think, what's the harm? It's just another 18 minutes. And that 18 minutes turns into an entire day of watching One Piece. Man, I miss those days. A feat that I always keep in my little book is the day that I watched 46 episodes of one of One Piece's best arcs, Marineford, in a single day. Are you thinking now, no, I can't do that much. I'm not that much of a binger. If you aren't already, if you are thinking those things, One Piece will do this to you. Embrace it. Enjoy it. Because it doesn't get much more binge-worthy than One Piece. If there is one show you should binge, or that you have to, it's One Piece. With 18-minute episodes, it's almost begging you to binge watch it. And now, after what has probably been over 10 to 15 minutes of non-stop praise for One Piece, you're thinking, well, what's the bad part then? What's the catch? Well, there is none. I'm joking, of course, as there are certain pitfalls that One Piece falls to. One Piece is actually surprisingly good about keeping filler to a minimum, at only 10% of the total showtime being filler. Especially notable considering just how long of a show it is. I mean, look at Naruto and Bleach. No. But the reason filler is so small is partially due to the pacing of the show, especially post-time skip One Piece, which takes its time with these arcs to say the least. Granted, the arcs are long even in the manga, and a lot happens, but yeah, it does get stretched out sometimes. Plus, animation does have its weak points, something that actually people can't really complain about anymore simply because of how amazing Wano, the recent One Piece arc, has done at completely redesigning the anime visually and doing it consistently. I mean, just look at this, it looks like a movie. So yes, there are parts that you might struggle to get through when binging through One Piece. I won't deny it, I'm not a blind idiot. I'd like to think I know what I'm talking about. I even took a week-long break during the Punk Hazard arc in the midst of my prime binging days. Because I think my body hit the complete limits of the feeble human frame at that point and needed a recharge that only God, Eiichiro Oda himself, could cure. But I firmly believe that the journey that One Piece takes you on in this anime is one that, even if it has its ups and downs, will leave you with countless memories and moments you can and will never forget. The kinds of scenes you want to show to your kids when you get older, and you're watching it together because the series is still not over when you're an old man. Whether it's because the scenes require a whole box of tissues just to get through without tears completely blinding you, or because they're so unbelievably hype that you momentarily forget that you're just watching a stretchy pirate fight on a screen. One Piece is the adventure of a lifetime, not just for Luffy and his crew, but for the viewer as well, for you and me and everyone else. And to return to the question posed in the title of this video, so, now you want to watch One Piece? I might just start rewatching right now. Let's go, baby!